Good evening. It's nice to be with you again. Well, the day is now done. The experiences are over. They drift into the past. It is now time to let them go. Let the office stay where the office belongs. And whether you had the best day or the worst day, it is over. So let it go. And with ease and love, turn your attention to this moment, to this point in time and space. This is the only moment that exists for you. This is a time for relaxing, for enjoying the letting go, and a time for preparing ourselves for sleep. The last thing we do or think at night, we take into sleep with us. So we want that last thought to be positive and healing. I would suggest that you do not listen to the news just before sleep. And please do not read newspapers at this time either. You don't want to take those disasters to sleep with you. Sleep is a time when we restore ourselves. Our bodies repair themselves and become renewed and refreshed. Our minds move into the dream state where problems of the day are solved, and we prepare for the new day. So let us let the body relax, become very, very comfortable. It does not matter if you go to sleep while I am talking, for even if your conscious mind does not hear my voice, your subconscious mind is listening to and recording every word I say. So you don't have to do a thing. Just take a nice deep breath and let go. Relax your scalp and your forehead. Your eyes are closed and gently relaxed. It feels so good to close your eyes. The muscles of your face relax. Your eye muscles, your cheeks, your lips, your jaw releases, and now you relax the very base of your tongue. Your throat softens and opens, and the back of your neck relaxes. Now your shoulders let go. This relaxed feeling moves down through your upper arms, softening the muscles, into the elbows, through the lower arms, into the hands, through the knuckles, into the fingers, down to the very fingertips. Feel the tingling in your fingertips as your body relaxes more and more. Let your back relax. Feel all the muscles get very heavy and visualize your vertebrae in perfect alignment. Take another deep breath, and as you exhale, let your chest relax. Your rib cage is floating. Relax the stomach. Feel the peace and calm in the abdominal area. Let the hips relax and the genitals, and allow that relaxed feeling to flow down into the thighs, freeing all those heavy thigh muscles. Let the knees relax and the calf muscles, and move the relaxation into the ankles, through the feet, and out the toes. Your breathing is nice and easy now. Your body is heavy and yet floating. And now your skin relaxes. Then we go inside and allow all your internal organs to relax. And now give your emotions permission to just let go. Feel the peace in your mind and body. When we go to sleep, we wrap up the day. We refresh our mind and our body, and we prepare ourselves for the new day. So as we enter the sleep state, we want to take positive thoughts with us. Thoughts that will create a wonderful new day, a new future. So if there is any anger or blame in you, let it go. If there is any resentment or rage, let it go. If there is any jealousy or fear, let it go. If there is any guilt or need for punishment lingering in the corners of your mind, let it go. No matter how large a problem you may think you have, you are only dealing with a thought, and the thought can be changed. We choose to think a thought. The thought produces a feeling, and we believe that it is true. Imagine, even self-hatred is only hating a thought you have about yourself. And that thought can be changed. That's where our freedom lies, in our ability to choose a new thought to think. So let us consciously choose to release the need within us to be critical and judgmental of ourselves or others. Let us affirm that you are willing to see yourself with approval and acceptance, and that you are willing to allow other people to be themselves. Each person in our life is a mirror of where we are in consciousness. Some people mirror the joyous, loving side of us, and some people mirror the patterns that on a very deep level we want to change. Then we usually get angry and blame them for being wrong. Try to be aware that the people that irritate us the most have come into our lives to teach us what we need to learn about ourselves. In this very relaxed state, allow your mind to go over the various people in your world that annoy you. Think of what it is about them that bothers you the most. And now honestly look into your own life and see where you do the same thing. Now, if you are willing to release that pattern from within yourself, then you will find, much to your surprise, that you have healed the relationship. When you change your own thinking, you will change, and you will find that other people also change. I believe that everybody on this planet is doing the very best they can at any point in time and space, with the understanding and awareness and knowledge that they have, including yourself and including your parents. I want you to visualize yourself as a little child of 6 or 7 and look deeply into this child's eyes and see the longing that is there, and know that there is only one thing that this little child wants from you, and that is love and acceptance. So reach out your arms and embrace this child and tell it how much you love it. What a wonderful child it is. How beautiful it is. How bright and intelligent it is. How creative it is. And that it is allowed to make mistakes as it learns. And that you will always love it and be there for this child. Now let this little child get very small, just the size to fit into your heart, and put it there so that every time you look down, you can see it looking up at you, and you can give this child lots of love. Now visualize your mother as a little girl of 5 or 6, frightened and looking for love, and not knowing where to find it. So reach out your arms and hold this frightened little girl and help her to feel safe. Tell her how much you love her and that you will always be there for her, no matter what. And when this frightened little girl relaxes and begins to feel safe, let her also get very small. Just the size to fit into your heart. And put her there with your own little child so they can give each other lots of love. Now allow yourself to visualize your father as a little boy of 3 or 4, frightened, crying, and looking for love. See the tears rolling down his face as he doesn't know where to turn. So once again, reach out your arms and hold his trembling little body. You know how to do this now. You're good at comforting frightened little children. Comfort him and sing to him. Let him feel how much you love him. Words are not necessary now. You can accomplish this just with feeling. Let him feel how much you love him. Let him feel that you will always be there for him, that he can trust you. And when his tears are dry, and you feel the love and peace in his little body, then let him get very small, just the size to fit into your heart. And put him there with the 2 other little ones, so that those 3 little children can give each other lots of love, and you can love them all the time. Your heart has so much love in it, and the more of this love that you share and give away, the more you will have to share. Love is not a substance that runs out. It's like a muscle. The less you use it, the more it withers and dies, and the more you use it, the stronger it becomes. And the love that you give out returns to you multiplied and greets you wherever you go. Love is the answer. Love is the most healing force there is. Love abolishes anger. Love releases resentment. Love gets rid of guilt. Love banishes blame. Love fades fear. Love opens the door. Love is the pathway to freedom and peace of mind. Love is the answer. And forgiveness is the way to love. The Course in Miracles says that all illness is created by being unforgiving, and that when you are ill, there is someone you need to forgive. They could be living or they could be dead, but continue to live in your mind. When we really understand that everyone in our life is a mirror of where we are, and that whatever they are doing, it is only a reflection of our own pattern. With this knowledge, we can never be angry or blame anyone again. All we need to do is to be willing to release the pattern within ourselves and to be grateful to them for showing us where we need to work. Let us affirm that we are willing to release the need to criticize and judge. We begin to learn to love and accept who and where we are now. We drop all blame and we become willing to change our patterns. Now let's do a series of affirmations, powerful statements of truth about ourselves. These are healing words, and in this relaxed state of mind, they sink deep into our subconscious mind, and we take these positive statements into our sleep and into the dream world, and we make them true for us. Affirm with me, it is easy for me to change. It is easy for me to change. I willingly release the past. I willingly and joyfully release the negative past. Burdens fall away from me. Old burdens easily fall away from me. I feel free and light. My mind feels free and light. I am secure. I am secure and powerful. I now choose to use my power. I choose to select my thoughts. I choose joy. I choose laughter. I choose enthusiasm. I choose self-esteem. I choose understanding. I choose compassion. I choose gentleness. I choose kindness. I choose friendliness. I choose love. I know I am worthwhile. I am worth liking. I am worth loving. I approve of myself. I choose health. I choose prosperity. I choose opportunity. I choose fulfillment and satisfaction. I choose success. I choose enlightenment. I choose forgiveness. I choose to release all barriers to love. I choose to let love flow through every area of my life and in all my relationships, from the most casual and fleeting to the most intimate and lasting. I choose harmony and loving communication wherever I am. I choose to see good and worth in everyone. I affirm I am an open channel for divine ideas. Whatever I need to know is always revealed to me, and whatever I need comes to me in the right time-space sequence. I know that all is well in my world. Feeling as good as I do, I now allow myself to drift off into sleep. Deep, restful sleep. A deep sleep that is very refreshing and healing to me. I will awaken in the morning feeling good, looking good, with lots of energy, and looking forward to a terrific new day. My life is continuously changing for the better, and I rejoice that this is so. Good night. Sweet dreams. You are very safe. All is well. And I love you.
Today, I want to share a story I found really fascinating. Now, I decided to just do a reading of it because that's probably the most effective way of telling this story. So I'm going to go ahead and read it, and let me know what you think. Here is the story. It is called The Russian Sleep Experiment. Russian researchers in the late 1940s kept 5 people awake for 15 days using an experimental gas-based stimulant. They were kept in a sealed environment to carefully monitor their oxygen intake so the gas didn't kill them, because it was toxic in high concentrations. This was before closed-circuit cameras, so they had only microphones and 5-inch thick glass porthole-sized windows into the chamber to monitor them. The chamber was stocked with books, cots to sleep on but no bedding, running water and toilet, and enough dried food to last all 5 for over a month. The test subjects were political prisoners deemed enemies of the state during World War II. Everything was fine for the first 5 days. The subjects hardly complained, having been promised, falsely, that they would be freed if they submitted to the test and did not sleep for 30 days. Their conversations and activities were monitored, and it was noted that they continued to talk about increasingly traumatic incidents in their past, and the general tone of their conversations took on a darker aspect after the 4-day mark. After 5 days, they started to complain about the circumstances and events that led them to where they were and started to demonstrate severe paranoia. They stopped talking to each other and began alternately whispering to the microphones and one-way mirrored portholes. Oddly, they all seemed to think that they could win the trust of the experimenters by turning over their comrades, the other subjects in captivity with them. At first, the researchers suspected this was an effect of the gas itself. After 9 days, the first of them started screaming. He ran the length of the chamber, repeatedly yelling at the top of his lungs for 3 hours straight. He continued attempting to scream but was only able to produce occasional squeaks. The researchers postulated that he had physically torn his vocal cords. The most surprising thing about this behavior is how the other captives reacted to it, or rather, didn't react to it. They continued whispering to the microphones until the second of the captives started to scream. The two non-screaming captives took the books apart, smeared them page after page with their own feces, and pasted them calmly over the glass portholes. The screaming promptly stopped. So did the whispering to the microphones. After 3 more days passed, the researchers checked the microphones hourly to make sure they were working, since they thought it impossible that no sound could be coming with 5 people inside. The oxygen consumption in the chamber indicated that all 5 must still be alive. In fact, it was the amount of oxygen 5 people would consume at a very heavy level of strenuous exercise. On the morning of the 14th day, the researchers did something they said they would not do to get a reaction from the captives. They used the intercom inside the chamber, hoping to provoke any response from the captives they were afraid were either dead or vegetables. They announced, "We are opening the chamber to test the microphones. Step away from the door and lie flat on the floor or you will be shot. Compliance will earn one of your immediate freedom." To their surprise, they heard a single phrase in a calm voice respond, "We no longer want to be freed." Debate broke out among the researchers and the military forces funding the research. Unable to provoke any more response using the intercom, it was finally decided to open the chamber at midnight on the 15th day. The chamber was flushed of the stimulant gas and filled with fresh air, and immediately voices from the microphones began to object. 3 different voices began begging, as if pleading for the life of loved ones, to turn the gas back on. The chamber was opened and soldiers sent in to retrieve the test subjects. They began to scream louder than ever, and so did the soldiers when they saw what was inside. 4 of the 5 subjects were still alive. The food rations past day 5 had not been so much as touched. There were chunks of meat from the dead test subject's thighs and chest stuffed into the drain in the center of the chamber, blocking the drain and allowing 4 inches of water to accumulate on the floor. Precisely how much of the water on the floor was actually blood was never determined. All 4 surviving test subjects also had large portions of muscle and skin torn away from their bodies. The destruction of flesh and exposed bone on their fingertips indicated that the wounds were inflicted by hand, not with teeth as the researchers initially thought. Closer examination of the position and angles of the wounds indicated that most, if not all of them, were self-inflicted. The abdominal organs below the ribcage of all 4 test subjects had been removed, while the heart, lungs, and diaphragm remained in place. The skin and most of the muscles attached to the ribs had been ripped off, exposing the lungs through the ribcage. All the blood vessels and organs remained intact. They had just been taken out and laid on the floor, fanning out around the eviscerated but still living bodies of the subjects. The digestive tract of all 4 could be seen to be working, digesting food. It quickly became apparent that what they were digesting was their own flesh that they had ripped off and eaten over the course of days. Most of the soldiers were Russian special operatives at the facility, but still many refused to return to the chamber to remove the test subjects. They continued to scream to be left in the chamber and alternately begged and demanded that the gas be turned back on, lest they fall asleep. To everyone's surprise, The test subjects put up a fierce fight in the process of being removed from the chamber. One of the Russian soldiers died from having his throat ripped out. Another was gravely injured by having his testicles ripped off and an artery in his leg severed by one of the subject's teeth. Another 5 of the soldiers lost their lives if you count ones that committed suicide in the weeks following the incident. In the struggle, one of the 4 living subjects had his spleen ruptured and he bled out almost immediately. The medical researchers attempted to sedate him, but this proved impossible. He was injected with more than 10 times the human dose of a morphine derivative and still fought like a cornered animal, breaking the ribs and arm of one doctor. His heart was seen to beat for a full 2 minutes after he had bled out to the point there was more air in his vascular system than blood. Even after it stopped, he continued to scream and flail for another 3 minutes, struggling to attack anyone in reach and just repeating the word "more" over and over, weaker and weaker, until he finally fell silent. The surviving 3 test subjects were heavily restrained and moved to a medical facility, the 2 with intact vocal cords continuously begging for the gas, demanding to be kept awake. The most injured of the 3 was taken to the only surgical operating room that the facility had. In the process of preparing the subject to have his organs placed back within his body, it was found that he was effectively immune to the sedative they had given him to prepare him for surgery. He fought furiously against his restraints when the anesthetic gas was brought out to put him under. He managed to tear most of the way through a 4-inch wide leather strap on one wrist, even through the weight of a 200-pound soldier holding that wrist as well. It took only a little more anesthetic than normal to put him under, and the instant his eyelids fluttered and closed, his heart stopped. In the autopsy of the test subject that died on the operating table, it was found that his blood had triple the normal level of oxygen. His muscles that were still attached to his skeleton were badly torn, and he had broken 9 bones in his struggle to not be subdued. Most of them were from the force his own muscles had exerted on them. The second survivor had been the first of the group of 5 to start screaming. His vocal cords destroyed, he was unable to beg or object to surgery, and he only reacted by shaking his head violently in disapproval when the anesthetic gas was brought near him. He shook his head yes when someone suggested, reluctantly, they try the surgery without an anesthetic. He also did not react for the entire 6-hour procedure of replacing his abdominal organs, and he attempted to cover them with what remained of his skin. The surgeon presiding stated repeatedly that it should be medically possible for the patient to still be alive. One terrified nurse assisting the surgery stated that she had seen the patient's mouth curl into a smile several times whenever his eyes met hers. When the surgery ended, the subject looked at the surgeon and began to wheeze loudly, attempting to talk while struggling. Assuming this must be something of drastic importance, the surgeon had a pen and pad fetched so the patient could write his message. It was simple. Keep cutting. The other 2 test subjects were given the same surgery, both without anesthetics as well, although they had to be injected with a paralytic for the duration of the operation. The surgeon found it impossible to perform the operation while the patients laughed continuously. Once paralyzed, the subjects could only follow the attending researchers with their eyes. The paralytic cleared their system in an abnormally short period of time, and they were soon trying to escape their bonds. The moment they could speak, they were again asking for the stimulant gas. The researchers tried asking why they had injured themselves, why they had ripped out their own guts, and why they wanted to be given the gas again. Only one response was given: I must remain awake. All 3 subjects' restraints were reinforced and they were placed back into the chamber awaiting determination as to what should be done with them. The researchers facing the wrath of their military benefactors for having failed the stated goals of their project, considered euthanizing the surviving subjects. The commanding officer, an ex-KGB, instead saw potential and wanted to see what would happen if they were put back on the gas. The researchers strongly objected, but were overruled. In preparation for being sealed in the chamber again, the subjects were connected to an EEG monitor and had their restraints padded for long-term confinement. To everyone's surprise, all three stopped struggling the moment it was let slip that they were going back on the gas. It was obvious that at this point all three were putting up a great struggle to stay awake. One of the subjects that could speak was humming loudly and continuously. The mute subject was straining his legs against the leather bonds with all his might, first left, then right, then left again for something to focus on. The remaining subject was holding his head off his pillow and blinking rapidly. Having been the first to be wired for EEG, most of the researchers were monitoring his brainwaves in surprise. They were normal most of the time, but sometimes flatlined inexplicably. It looked as if he were repeatedly suffering brain death before returning to normal. As they focused on the paper scrolling out of the brainwave monitor, only one nurse saw his eyes slip shut at the same moment his head hit the pillow. His brainwaves immediately changed to that of deep sleep and then flatlined for the last time as his heart simultaneously stopped. The only remaining subject that could speak started screaming to be sealed in now. His brainwaves showed the same flat lines as the one who had just died from falling asleep. The commander gave the order to seal the chamber with both subjects inside, as well as 3 researchers. One of the named 3 immediately drew his gun and shot the commander point blank between the eyes, then turned the gun on the mute subject and blew his brains out as well. He pointed his gun at the remaining subject, still restrained to a bed, as the remaining members of the medical and research team fled the room. "I won't be locked in here with these things. Not with you," he screamed at the man strapped to the table. "What are you?" he demanded. "I must know." The subject smiled. "Have you forgotten so easily?" the subject asked. "We are you. We are the madness that lurks within you all, begging to be free at every moment in your deepest animal mind. We are what you hide from in your beds every night. We are what you sedate into silence and paralysis when you go to the nocturnal haven where we cannot tread." The researcher paused, then aimed at the subject's heart and fired. The EEG flatlined as the subject weakly choked out. "So nearly free."